Hello, and welcome to the Designing with Propel Builder and SDK video training series. This training is divided into several different chapters and sections in order to break up the viewing experience and allow users to freely follow along with the video series at their own pace. In this video, we will begin with Chapter 1, Section 1, Training Overview, where we will discuss the objectives of this training, as well as the structure and the agenda. With that said, let's dive into the first topic for this video, where we will review some important basic information about Propel Builder and Propel SDK. As previously discussed, the Propel software development suite includes two main software tools. The first of these tools, Propel Builder, is used to develop SoC projects, while the second tool, Propel SDK, is used to develop firmware and debug these SoC projects. On a more detailed level, some of Propel Builder's other main usages and capabilities include IP integration, the ability to manage address spaces for projects, Verilog and VHDL wrapper generation, system file generation for C projects, as well as verification projects. On a similar note, some of the most important things to know about Propel SDK include that it is an Eclipse-based IDE and is primarily used to develop and debug firmware on a device using some of Propel SDK's built-in debugging tools and views. Aside from that, Propel SDK is also used to generate memory initialization files, which are used to initialize the system memory components for SoC projects. Now that we've discussed some of the main usages for Propel Builder and Propel SDK, let's review the objectives for this training to get an idea for some of the most important takeaways that you can learn by watching this video series. The first objective for this training is for users to understand how to develop an SoC project using Propel Builder. Similarly, the second objective of the training is for users to understand the process and how they can develop firmware for their SoC projects using Propel SDK. The third objective of the training is to introduce users to the various project development tools available within Propel Builder and SDK so that they know how and when they should use these tools to assist in developing their projects. Finally, the last objective of this training is to understand the various project development flows that are available within Propel, as well as how you can integrate Propel projects within Lattice's other two main software development suites, Lattice Radiant and Diamond. With that said, let's continue on to the next portion of this chapter, so we can quickly review the agenda and structure for the remainder of the training. As was mentioned earlier, the first chapter of the training series is called Introduction. In the first and current section, called Training Overview, we discuss the objectives and agenda for this training. Next, in Chapter 2, we will focus on the project development features that are available within Propel Builder, beginning with Section 2.1, Getting Started, then continuing on to Section 2.2, IP Management, followed by Section 2.3, Creating an SoC, and then finally finishing with Section 2.4, Managing Address Spaces. After that, we continue on to Chapter 3, Propel SDK. In this chapter of the training, we will begin with Section 3.1, Getting Started, where we discuss some of the basics of working with Propel SDK's workspaces and projects. After that is Section 3.2, Developing Firmware, followed by Section 3.3, Debugging with OpenOCD. Finally is Chapter 4 of the training series, which will focus on project development flows in Propel Builder and Propel SDK, where we will begin with Section 4.1, Backend Flow using Diamond or Radiant. After that is Section 4.2, Simulating an SoC project, where we will go over the flow for simulating Propel projects. Finally, in Section 4.3, Project Scripting with Tickle Commands, we will discuss the process for automating certain aspects of the Propel Builder project development flow using Tickle Commands and Tickle scripts. That concludes this section of the video series. To watch the next video in the series, select the video called Section 2.1, Getting Started with Propel Builder.